Peace and blessings, family. Peace and blessings. Y'all come on in, come on in. Come on in, come on in. Let's get tonight's session started with day 2 of the Pressure Purge Challenge. So come on in, come on in. Let's get tonight rolling. So yesterday was a very informative session. We talked about quite a few things regarding the Pressure Purge Challenge. And I think we did a really good breakdown of understanding salt, understanding oils, and the reason why we want to eliminate them from our diet, especially while we're dealing with these blood pressure issues. That way we can open up the different pathways and allow our body to get to the root cause of the problems that we're experiencing. So today, we're going to continue with our breakdown. And for those of you that have a second device, feel free to pull up your Pressure Purge Challenge ebook. That way we can continue to move forward and continue to break down these important pathways that are directly related to the blood pressure issues that we're experiencing. So as I wait for a few more people to come on and also find the page where I left off on, I want to give you guys a quick update again. For those of us that did purchase the high blood pressure breakdown book, everything has been shipped out, and you should be getting a confirmation email with all the other little stuff that goes along with it. So you should have got an email to begin with probably yesterday or so, but you should be getting you should get updated emails between most likely either today or tomorrow that let you know more about your actual package. So we're going to continue with day 2 of the Pressure Purge Challenge, and today we're going to be breaking down sugar. Sugar is going to be a big part of this conversation because it's a part of the strategy for getting to the root cause of the blood pressure issues. And one thing I always like to say is, the better you understand the reason why you're doing something, the more likely you're going to be able to stick with it and see it through and be able to obtain the results that comes from doing what you're doing. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about sugar, along with a few other things that are critical for removing from the diet, because again, it's all about the removal of these things that are contributing to the problem in order to get to the root cause. So again, if you guys have your Pressure Purge ebook and a second device, feel free to pull it up. We're going to chapter 5, talking about sugar, and we're going to go ahead and dive right into it so we can understand exactly why these things should be moved from the diet. So understanding sugar, refined sweeteners, and understanding that they're stripped of all their nutrients. The process of refining involves extracting or separating components to achieve a pure form. When it comes to sugar, refinement aims to isolate the sugar content by removing all other elements present in the natural food source. And this basically means that when you take a sugar cane, basically you take that raw natural sugar cane and you're extracting the sugar from it. So you're taking the fiber, you're taking the water, you're breaking down the other vitamins and the minerals and enzymes, and you're stripping all these things away from it just to isolate that sugar compound to have it in its pure natural form. And this is where it gets complicated when it comes down to digestion and absorption within the body, because the body can naturally break down the whole food by itself and be able to properly absorb it, assimilate it, and do everything that it needs with. But once you start to isolate it, that's where it becomes a problem, and the body doesn't handle it the same way that it should, because it doesn't contain the different nutrients or minerals rather that are essential for the digestive process. So white sugar, commonly derived from sugar cane or from sugar beets, undergoes heating, mechanical, and chemical processes that strip away the vitamins, the minerals, the proteins, the fats, the enzymes, and other nutrients, leaving only the sugar behind. The initial step involves harvesting and chopping sugar cane or sugar beets into small pieces, from which the juice is extracted and mixed with water. This liquid is then subjected to heating and the addition of lime. Through the boiling process, moisture is removed and the concentrated juice is transferred to vacuum pans where it begins to crystallize. The resulting mixture is then passed through a centrifuge machine to separate any remaining residues such as molasses. So when it comes down to creating sugar, one thing that we should understand is nothing is wasted in the food industry. So when everything is broken down to create that white sugar that we have, all that leftover sugar and the stuff that they can't use, That's simply, they just take it and put it in a bottle and call it molasses, and boom, now you got this other byproduct from sugar that's just as bad as everything else. So understanding that this is an industry that's for profit, and they create a lot of different things and nothing goes to waste, and everything is for sale basically. So we really have to understand what we're consuming, how it affects us, and be more mindful. And the more you understand how these things work, the better you're going to be able to get to the root cause of your problem and correct these issues that you're experiencing. So next, the crystals are heated to their boiling point and subjected to charcoal filters. Once condensed, they are bleached to achieve a snow white appearance, often utilizing cattle bones in the process. Throughout these refining processes, a total of 64 essential food components are destroyed. Potassium, magnesium, calcium, iron, manganese, phosphate, and sulfates are entirely removed. Vitamin A, vitamin D, vitamin B are eliminated, along with the amino acids, vital enzymes, unsaturated fat, and all fiber. So that whole list of things that I just said, from the magnesium, the calcium, the potassium, all those are essential when it comes down to your overall health and helping to regulate blood pressure. So in the process of creating sugar, basically they're taking all of these things out to give you a pure form of sugar, and this only complicates things that are going on inside of your body. And this is for all forms of sugar. Except for, of course, fruit sugars, because these are all natural sugars. But this goes for all forms of sugars, whether it's sweet and low, stevia. I don't even know. There's so many different types of sugars out there. But for the majority, I'm going to say all of them, there's some form of processing that's going on. And all this contributes to the issues that we're experiencing, especially with blood pressure. So don't think that just because you're not using white sugar and you're using brown sugar that this is better than the other. No, they're all exactly the same. They're all going through different type of processes, some more than others. But just because it's less bad than the other one doesn't mean that it's any good for you at all. So just be mindful about these different types of sugars, and we should all be actively working to eliminate them from our diet. As far as the Pressure Purge Challenge, we know that there's no sugar whatsoever that we should be consuming in any type of form. You know, we'll take the natural sugars such as the fruit sugars; those are fine. And we can also, I think I gave you guys the option of having maple syrup as well as your only other sweetener. Those are the only two ones that we're allowing, but everything else should be completely eliminated to allow for our body to adjust without actually having the damaging impact of any sugar coming from any other place. And one of the biggest places that it comes from is from our beverages and the drinks that we're consuming. Here we go, keep going. Refined sweeteners like corn syrup, maple syrup, and others undergo similar destructive process to varying degrees. Molasses, often considered a byproduct of sugar manufacturing, consists of chemicals and depleted nutrients resulting from the refinement process. And again, you see that maple syrup is also in this list because for the majority of maple syrup that's harvested and processed, it still has to be heated up in order to turn it into what it actually is when we buy it in the store. And its heating process, once you put fire to anything, it starts to break it down, and the nutrients and the minerals that's in it, it starts to change to a certain degree. So we have to be very, very mindful that even though our maple syrup that we may purchase is organic and it's all natural and, you know, it's straight from the source, we have to understand the process that it goes through. It's still less bad than the other sugar products out there, but it's not something that you want to be hammering away with and just consistently using every day here and there. So understanding that just because it's a little bit better, it doesn't necessarily make it any good for you, especially when you're trying to overcome some of these issues. The impact of consuming refined sugars. When you consume refined sugars, such as refined carbohydrates like sugar, the body is compelled to extract vital nutrients from healthy cells to metabolize this incomplete food. Sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium are drawn from various parts of the body to process sugar. So again, understand this. Sugar itself is stripped of the vital nutrients that make it a whole food. And when you consume it, in order for your body to properly metabolize it and get it out of your system, it has to take vitamins and minerals from other areas in the body in order to do this. And this is why I like to call sugar a thief of the body. When you consume sugar, it comes to the party with nothing. Imagine you invite somebody over to your party and they have nothing to offer. They don't bring no party favors. They don't bring anything. They just show up. And when they show up, they leave with everything. They got 4 or 5 plates. They taking bottles with them. They taking flowers. They taking everything with them. They didn't bring nothing. They didn't do nothing. And then they out just like that. Sugar is the same exact way. When you consume sugar, it brings no nutritional benefits to your body whatsoever. But in order for your body to properly get rid of it, it has to give up potassium, which is critical for heart health and blood pressure. It has to give up calcium, which is critical for relaxing the arteries. It has to give up magnesium, which is the relaxation mineral, because magnesium relaxes the blood vessels and the heart as well. So when you consume sugar, it has to steal all these nutrients from these other areas. And this contributes to the deficiencies that we're seeing that's also causing the blood pressure issues that we're dealing with. So understanding that this goes for all these different type of processed and refined sugars. The further you get away from them and understand where they're coming from, the better your body will be able to get when it comes down to making the adjustments, preserving the nutrients that it has, and continue to build up its storages to help regulate these blood pressure issues that we're dealing with. So sugar, again, is a thief of the body, and it steals a lot of the different nutrients that are essential when it comes down to regulating blood pressure. The excess use of calcium often leads to osteoporosis, as the bones, which serve as the body's calcium storehouse, becomes depleted as well. The teeth are also affected, losing their components, and become susceptible to decay. So sugar causes a domino effect of other issues, and again, it's directly related to the blood pressure as well. Upon entering the stomach, refined sugars deprive the body of glutamic acid and other essential B vitamins. These deficiencies of the specific vitamins can result in mental confusion and daytime sleepiness. So these are some of the side effects we can see when it comes from basically consuming sugars, especially right out the gate in the morning. Sometimes, we get this, pancakes and waffles and syrup and all these sugary foods, or we're having coffee and, all these different drinks and all these different things throughout the day. They all have these effects on our bodies, some more than others. And we have to be very, very mindful, especially since we're trying to correct some of these blood pressure issues that we're dealing with. We have to be mindful of what's going on, and we have to be able to step away from these things. That way we can allow for our body to adjust and make the necessary adjustments when it comes down to getting to the root cause of our blood pressure issues. So here we go. Since refined sugars are extracted from their natural sources, which contain the necessary nutrients for their metabolism, their consumption depletes the body's own stores of various vitamins, minerals, and enzymes. Not only does sugar fail to provide the needed nutrients, but it also prompts the body to strip itself of vital elements that are already present. Sugar is both an imposter and a thief. It's as simple as that. It's a thief of the body. It means you no good in any way, shape, or form. So you should be avoiding the sugar as best as you can. If the body lacks the necessary nutrients required to metabolize sugar, it fails to handle and eliminate toxic residues efficiently. It fails to handle and eliminate toxic residues efficiently. These waste products accumulate throughout the brain and nervous system, causing cellular death. The bloodstream becomes overwhelmed with waste, including incomplete metabolized sugar, leading to symptoms of carbonic poisoning. So all these little things that we're experiencing and these things that's hindering us and slowing us down, this is all a side effect of the toxic buildup that's occurring from the foods that we're consuming. So understand, once we start to eliminate them from our body, we can actually start to benefit and start to regain our energy and allow our body to get back in alignment to help us rejuvenate ourselves and to get over this process. Lastly, let's Lastly, I need to slow down. Lastly, let's discuss sugars, specifically refined and processed sugars, as natural sugars found in whole fruits, like fruit sugars, have different effects on the body. Excessive consumption of added sugars impacts the endothelial cells, hindering their ability to produce nitric oxide. This leads to blood vessel narrowing and increased blood pressure. So this chapter here, now it's going to roll into the effects directly related to high blood pressure with sugar. So I'm going to freestyle this. I'm not even going to go off of this tablet real quick because I got to check that out. But when you understand this, when you consume sugar, sugar causes your body, sugar basically causes the body to develop free radicals throughout the bloodstream. And when free radicals start to form, they start to damage the blood vessels by way of oxidative stress. So these free radicals start to damage the blood vessel. These free radicals start to cause oxidative stress. This oxidative stress starts to break down the blood vessels. And now, as it's breaking down the blood vessels, this starts to damage the endothelial cells. Now, yesterday we talked about the endothelium system itself as a whole and how the endothelial cells line the arteries, the blood vessels, and the heart. So now, when you're consuming sugars along with all these other foods that are damaging to the body, a lot of this oxidative stress that builds up starts to break down these cells. And the main job of the endothelial cells is to keep the blood vessels nice and smooth so the blood can flow through without any issues, to protect the blood vessels and prevent things from getting in between and entering the body. And number 3, to produce the nitric oxide to dilate the blood vessels so the blood can flow through smoothly. So understanding when you're consuming sugar, it doesn't matter if it's a little bit or a lot of it. Like, it doesn't matter. If you're consuming some form of sugar, this cycle is being fed. And these free radicals are causing this oxidative stress, and the blood vessels and the damage is continuing to occur to a large scale, to ultimately the blood pressure becomes an issue because the endothelial cells are not able to produce the nitric oxide. And now you see your blood pressure crawling up. And it's simply because, you know, the foods that you're consuming are causing the damage and just contributing to the problem. So oxidative stress and sugar are hand in hand. Every time you're consuming sugary foods, whether it's in a packaged food, it's a candy bar, or an unhealthy snack that you might be having, this is contributing to the problem. The better you're able to eliminate those, the better your body's able to dial back and control this oxidative stress and start to get over the hump. In a 7-day fruit and salad challenge, one thing we talked about was antioxidants. The antioxidants are like our soldiers inside of our body that are there to combat this oxidative stress and these free radicals. So the fruits that are great for getting more antioxidants are typically going to be your berries, the blueberries, the strawberries, the raspberries, the blackberries. All your berries are going to be very, very high in antioxidants. So when you consume a variety of berries, you're going to get an abundance of antioxidants. And what's going to happen is these antioxidants are going to come into your body and they're going to start a battle with these free radicals. And when you have an abundance of antioxidants, they're going to overwhelm these free radicals to where they break them down and destroy them. And this is going to reduce the amount of oxidative stress that's going on inside of the body. Once you start to reduce the oxidative stress, now the endothelial cells are able to repair themselves and start to produce the nitric oxide to dilate the blood vessels and also just clean up and repair the damage. And one thing about consuming those antioxidants or those fresh berries and those fresh fruits, they're also going to give you the minerals needed to build the body up. It's going to give you the potassium, the magnesium, the calcium, the zinc, all those things that are very, very important. So not only are you getting the antioxidants to fight off the free radicals, but you're also giving your body the raw materials that it needs to build itself back up and to overcome the damages that have been caused by the sugar and the free radicals and everything else that we're consuming. So that's why it's very, very important to know that even though the 7-day fruit and salad challenge ended already, we should still be continuing these same habits and working them in as we're working to get control of our blood pressure and ultimately get off the pharmaceutical medications. So don't think of it just as, okay, it's a 7-day challenge and it's over. These are habits that need to continue because your goal is to build your body up and get over these different humps that you're experiencing. So just because you got some great results in 7 days doesn't mean that the fight is over. You have to continue to go through this cycle to build yourself up, correct the internal issues that are going on, and allow your body to strengthen itself to work its way through these problems and ultimately see this process through. So, you know, it's a part of the journey, basically. Let's see where we're at now. Here we go. As we age, the natural production of nitric oxide by the cells decrease, and high sugar intake exacerbates this issue. Consuming high amounts of sugar also increases salt sensitivity, disrupting sodium levels and further affecting blood pressure regulation. Moreover, sugar acts as a nutrient thief, and processed sugar lacks sufficient nutrients. Those are the main things that you need to understand. Sugar is going to steal nutrients from your body, and it doesn't give you any type of benefits whatsoever. So what's the point of consuming something that's not going to do anything for you and ultimately hurt you at the end of the day? Like, you won't talk to a person that you know is bad for you and it's going to hurt you. So why would you eat something that you know is bad for you and it's going to hurt you as well? So wrapping your mind around this concept, knowing that sugar is not what you want inside of your body, this is going to help you get to the end goal. And one thing that we have to understand, like, you know, it can be rather difficult to beat a sugar addiction, but we'll get into that topic a little bit later on. That way we can understand more about how we can overcome these type of challenges. So if anyone have any questions, feel free to drop it in the chat. And once I get through this first half of this lesson, I'll go ahead and answer any questions that we have. Here we go. We can skip that. I just went through that one. Yeah, we was good on that one. So, okay, one thing that I want to also bring up is it's a lecture by Robert Lustig. Robert Lustig is he put this very, very great lecture together about sugar. It was very, very popular on YouTube. It came out probably like 10 years ago, actually. I think I might have watched it 3 or 4 times. So what I did was, for those of us that have the ebook, you have some further information inside of here. One of the things that I want you guys to do is to take the time out and go and watch this. I think it's about 45-minute lecture by Robert Lustig. And this will give you some great insights on understanding sugar at its root cause, and most importantly, understanding the effects that it have on not just your overall health, but your life in general, and some of the things that the role that it plays in some of the issues that we may be experiencing or seeing within ourselves or our families. So inside of your ebook in the sugar section, you're going to see some more information about that. But I highly recommend that you guys check that out, and we'll go from there. Next one. Here we go. Excessive fructose consumption overwhelms the liver, leading to the production of harmful substances and the storage of excess fat. Moreover, the absence of adequate dietary fiber, which is found in whole foods, exacerbates this effects. Fiber plays a crucial role in regulating blood sugar levels and promoting satiety, helping to control insulin responses and prevent overeating. Insulin resistance, a condition that's linked to excessive sugar consumption and inadequate fiber intake, can develop, leading to further weight gain and an increased risk of chronic diseases. Now, this particular passage here, this is directly related to the individuals that say they're diabetic and that they shouldn't consume fruit, or certain types they shouldn't consume fruit because of the sugar that's inside of it. So I'm going to dive into this briefly because this can turn into a whole conversation of its own that may need to be deeply broken down for some individuals. But we have to understand the difference between refined sugars and processed sugars and natural sugars such as fruit sugars. Now, in this particular scenario, the maple syrup and the honey and all those things, they fall in the category of the processed and refined sugars because of the way that they're put together. So understand this. This is very, very important. When you consume fresh fruits are packaged up exactly how they are in nature. They have the fiber, they have the water, the vitamins, the minerals, the enzymes, and everything that nature has given it properly packaged up for your body to digest it, absorb it, assimilate it, and eliminate it with everything that it needs. It has everything. It's the complete package. But when you consume processed and refined sugars such as packaged oatmeal, cereal, sodas, candy bars, granola bars, and all those other things, those are all processed and refined sugars. They contain very little fiber, very little water, very little vitamins and minerals, and all the things that make it a whole food. So what happens is when you consume those processed and refined sugars, what it does basically, you consume it and the body digests it a lot rapidly because it doesn't have anything to slow it down. Mainly the fiber. Fiber is one thing that slows down the digestion and allows for the body to properly assimilate it. But these foods have no fiber. They have nothing else. There's a lot of added sugars and things inside of it. So once you get it, you consume it, there's nothing to slow it down. Your body processes it, and now it causes your blood sugar levels to spike. And this causes your insulin levels to spike as well to try to maintain that sugar levels and bring it down rapidly. So those processed and refined sugars, they cause a spike in the blood sugar levels, and that's where a lot of the issues and the problems come from. But when you consume fresh fruits, it's a totally different process. These are what they call like complex carbohydrates, and the whole process of digestion is totally different. So understanding that when you consume fresh fruits, whether it's berries or mango or apples or grapes or whatever it is, these foods contain the fiber, they contain the water, the vitamins and minerals and everything for the body to properly assimilate it. So when you consume that fresh mango, it goes into your digestive system. The process of digestion is a lot more complex, and that's why they call it a complex carbohydrate. So now it's more complex, and the body has to break down the fiber in order to release the vitamins and the minerals and the enzymes and the fructose and everything else that's there. So it doesn't give your blood sugar the spike. It gives it a gradual rise because of the digestion process. Now that gradual rise, it also calls for your insulin levels to gradually rise. But the difference is when you consume those processed sugars and those refined sugars, they give you that spike, they pick you up real fast, and then they drop you. And then boom, you have a chain reaction of events that happens within your body. One, you're going to be hungry all again. You might get fatigued, and a whole domino effect of things start to occur. But with the fruits and the natural sugars like that, it gives you a gradual rise. The insulin levels gradually rise as well. And then it carries you and gives you a sustainable amount of energy throughout the day. And it doesn't drop you back down, causing these other issues. But for diabetics, the most important part is this. Those sugars that you're consuming, they also come inside of your body with the potassium, the magnesium, the calcium, the vitamin A, the vitamin D, the antioxidants, everything else that your body needs to properly work. It's the complete package. It has everything that you need. So you're going to see a small gradual rise in your blood sugar levels. This is nothing to be alarmed about, because what happens, it gradually pulls you up. Your insulin levels are going to gradually rise. Now those vitamins, minerals, enzymes that are there, they're going to start hitting and activating the cells in many different passageways. And now your cells are going to get the nutrients that they need. Your body's going to get the antioxidants. It's going to get everything that it needs. And these nutrients from these fruits are basically going to wash and prime the cells up and cleanse them up and break down a lot of the things that are causing the issues with these cells and the diabetes issue. So understanding that these fruits are basically going to give you everything that you need, and that slight rise that you're going to see, this is nothing to be afraid of. And what typically happens with most people, as the sugar levels go down, the next meal that you eat, your body is going to be able to respond a whole lot better to the next meal, no matter what it is, because it has the nutrients and the enzymes and everything that it needs to properly metabolize the glucose that's inside of the bloodstream, and you won't see the same type of rise. So when you start making a health promoting approach to your dietary habits, you're going to see a small spike somewhere, But then you're going to start to see the trend where your body gets better with maintaining the glucose levels and start eliminating the excess amount of sugar that's inside of the system. So one thing that I say to people that are dealing with diabetes in this type of issue, don't be afraid of fruits. It's as simple as that. Everything that you eat is going to have an impact on your blood sugar levels. That's going to happen. But understanding the process and being willing to go through the journey is going to give you more insights and help you get to the root cause of this issue, because fruits are not your enemy. There are a few fruits I'll say just be mindful of, such as the watermelons and the pineapples and things like that, because they can bring you up a lot faster than the rest of them. But ideally, you don't have to worry about those fruits, all the other fruits for no particular reason. Now, the best fruits that you can consume without even worrying about any of these problems is always going to be your berries. The blueberries, blackberries, strawberries, cranberries, blueberries, blackberries, strawberries. All those berries are going to be very, very beneficial for you. And they're not going to give you as much of a rise as these other sugars. So understanding that if you're diabetic and you're dealing with these blood sugar issues, do not be afraid of fruits. Just go through the process, document your journey, and watch how your body responds to it. But the main thing that you're going to see, you're going to start to see the trend where, okay, your blood sugar levels were a little bit higher than they typically were, but you're going to see your body starts to make the adjustment, mainly because the nutrients from the fruits that you're consuming is going to be able to prime your body up and allow for this process to be a lot more efficiently. So that's another very, very important thing. So the next chapter, if you guys got any questions, also feel free to drop them in. But the next chapter we're going into is going to be chapter 6, which is going to be understanding caffeine and alcohol. These are two really, really big areas, and caffeine and alcohol are two things that need to be eliminated completely, especially if you wish to get to the root cause of your blood pressure issues. So here we go. The impact of caffeine on the body. Caffeine acts as a stimulant on the central nervous system, similarly to substances like cocaine and amphetamines. It has the ability to increase the heart rate, alter blood vessel size, and affect various physiological functions such as blood pressure, coronary circulation, and urination. Just 3 cups of coffee, for instance, contains enough caffeine to raise the body's basal metabolic rate by up to 25%, significantly increasing activity levels. So understanding that caffeine is what you call a vasoconstrictor. And what a vasoconstrictor means is basically every time it's in your system, it basically causes the arteries to constrict. And when your arteries constrict, a number of things happen. Number one, when those arteries constrict, those endothelial cells that line the artery, they start to shift. They start to rub up and touch each other and get damaged, and they start to lose function. And again, those endothelial cells are the protector and the guardian of your cardiovascular system. If these cells are being damaged consistently because you're consuming salt coffee or these other products that we're talking about consuming, this is going to ultimately break down the blood vessels and cause bigger problems further down the line. So on the road to eliminating blood pressure issues, we need to make sure that we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's when it comes to eliminating the products that can be contributing to the problem. Consuming caffeine can elevate blood pressure due to its effects on the body. It is crucial to eliminate coffee and other caffeinated beverages from your diet when addressing the underlying causes of high blood pressure. Understanding the dangers of alcohol. Alcohol is an addictive substance, with 1 in 8 individuals who consume it developing a lifelong addiction. Its addictive nature surpasses that of many other drugs. Despite this, alcohol is treated differently by the government, being considered a non-drug and subjected to licensing, taxation, and extensive marketing campaigns promoting the consumption of it. We've all seen that with alcohol. We all have some basic understanding of alcohol when it comes down to how it's portrayed inside of society, but in my opinion, it's completely a drug that should be eliminated, but it's a whole nother topic. We're not gonna get into the politics behind it. But alcohol can damage the liver, contribute to the formation of ulcers, enlarge the heart, and lead to the destruction of brain cells. Its detrimental effects extend to both the body and the mind. It is crucial to recognize alcohol as a lethal substance and avoid viewing it as a social lubricant or just a harmless relaxant. And that's what most people see it. They see it as something that they consume when they're socializing or just trying to hang out and relax. But we have to understand that this is a toxic substance that we should avoid at all costs. One of the biggest questions that I get a lot is it okay to consume wine? And I'm going to make sure I get into that topic a little bit better because of the information that's out there that makes it seem like, having a glass of red wine is beneficial for the heart and all that other stuff that's out there. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But alcohol is a drug and it has no place in a healthy lifestyle. The impact of excessive alcohol consumption on the blood pressure. Excessive alcohol consumption can raise blood pressure to unhealthy levels. Regular episodes of binge drinking can lead to long-term increases in blood pressure. So I'm going to get right into this alcohol and red wine topic right quick because I think that's more important at the moment. So we have to understand this. When you consume alcohol, well, I'm going to go back to this study that's there. And I'm giving it to you as clean as I can because I know there's some pieces that I'm missing. When it comes down to alcohol, when it comes down to red wine, we should understand this. Okay, let me back up. When it comes down to alcohol, we should understand this. Consuming any alcohol over 4 ounces is considered to be heavy drinking. So they say the scientific data based off of all the researches with drunk driving and alcohol damaging the liver and other areas of the body, all the scientific information says that 4 ounces of alcohol is anything over 4 ounces is considered over drinking and drinking in excess. So 4 ounces, that's less than a glass of wine. So 4 ounces, nobody drinks 4 ounces. I've never seen anybody drink 4 ounces. Everyone has 1 or 2 glasses, and that's technically considered over drinking and problematic for the body as a whole. Now, when it comes down to consuming red wine and alcohol, the benefits from it, I think I'm going to chop this word up. The benefits from it seemingly comes from, I want to say, resveratrol. If anybody have the correct pronunciation or the correct way to spell that, please drop it in the chat because I feel like I'm chopping it up. Resveratrol is the substance that's found inside of the skin of the grapes. And when they produce and create alcohol, when they mash up the grapes, this resveratrol gets released into the wine and it ferments, and it creates a very, very beneficial or very, very stimulating effect that soothes the heart and relaxes the blood vessels. And that's the beneficial thing that they seen inside of the wine. Everything else is completely damaged. The sugar that's in it, the fermentation, and the effect that it have on the gut, all that is completely trash. But scientists took that little bit of information like, oh, these components of the red wine, it relaxes the heart and it smoothens out the blood vessels in these areas. So yeah, has to be beneficial for heart health. So drinking a glass of wine can help you extend your life and have longevity, improve your heart health. But when in actuality, it's a piece of the information and the data that's out there. All of the other data and the other information behind the consumption of wine, it goes totally against this thought process. They took this little abstract of information, put it on packages, put it in the media, and people took it and ran with it. One thing that I understand the most is that people like to hear good stuff about their bad habits. And I'm going to say that again. People like to hear good stuff about their bad habits. If a person have a habit of drinking wine and they hear that, oh, it's good for the heart, this is going to make them want to consume more of it because they think that it's something beneficial for them. But in actuality, it's very toxic. It causes a lot of different issues and it leads to many different problems, especially relating to blood pressure. So that little bit of resveratrol that you're getting that's stimulating the body and helping in a certain way, that's a very, very small benefit, especially for what it's costing you when it comes down to the damaging of your endothelial system, the cells of the body, and even the brain, because alcohol doesn't get metabolized in the gut. it get metabolized in the brain, and that's where you get the, you know, the fogginess and the blacking out and all those things. Alcohol gets metabolized up here, and that just causes a whole bunch of other problems. And think about it, if you want to get the benefits from the resveratrol, just eat the grapes. Like, it's simple as that. That's where it comes from. The skin of the grapes, that's where it's at. Just eat the red grapes. It's the same thing. So looking at these types of studies and following the information, following the money behind it, these are all different things and different ploys and different tactics was pulled out of these studies and pushed into mainstream media, and people just take it and run with it. But at the end of the day, when you're dealing with blood pressure issues, you want to avoid alcohol completely. Now, I know for some of us, the way our lives set up and we have these habits and, you know, that's just what we do. Ultimately, you're going to have to make a choice, whether you want the alcohol or you want to be free of the medication. It's really your choice. It's an individual choice. However you want to do it, that's your call. But understanding, if you want to get to the root cause of this, you need to pull these things out of the body and allow for your body to make the necessary adjustments. Now, I'm not going to say you got to quit alcohol for the rest of your life, but ideally that would be the best option. But what I am telling you is, drop it for a while, and see what happens. And when your body starts telling you certain things and you start seeing changes that are beneficial for your overall health, this will give you better tools to make some more efficient choices moving forward. This is all about just turning over these different stones and seeing how your body responds to it. And for this process, as you move through these challenges and step up to the plate to understand these things, your body is going to ultimately make the final call about what needs to take place. And again, my whole approach is like taking things out. You don't have to listen to me. Do it and listen to your body. Your body is going to tell you everything else that needs to happen after this process. You're going to see the blood pressure come down. You're going to see the blood sugar levels come down. You're going to see your body start absorbing things differently. You're going to see your digestive system start to improve. And all these things are going to be a step in the right direction, a health promoting direction that's going to be very healing and beneficial for your end goal. So when on the road to getting off of pharmaceutical medications, there should be no alcohol through this process. There should be no caffeine through this process. Eliminating coffee is going to be a very, very big thing. Eliminating alcohol is going to be a very big thing. Now, some people might say, well, okay, well, if it's the caffeine, can I just do decaf coffee? But we have to understand this. Decaf coffee still has some level of caffeine inside of it. Not as much as regular coffee, but it still has a small level. The best thing I can tell you, if you have a coffee addiction, is to wean yourself down. So if you drink 3 cups of coffee a day, break it down. Excuse me. If you drink 3 cups of coffee a day, break it down to just 1 cup. If it's an 8-ounce cup, break it down to 1 cup. You take that 1 cup of coffee, and one of the best approaches that I've seen done, I watched this guy do this. I forgot his name. If I can pull it back up, I'll make sure I give it to you guys. But I watched this guy do this with his coffee addiction. He had a serious coffee addiction, drank coffee for every day of his life since he was like 18, 19 years old. But what he did to kick his coffee addiction, he broke his coffee down to an 8-ounce cup. And from the 8-ounce cup, he also got 2 other cups of, now I won't tell you it was exactly 2 of, but follow this. If you drink 3 cups of coffee, break it down to just 1 cup of 8-ounce regular coffee. Now that 1 cup of 8-ounce coffee that you have, try to mix that regular cup of coffee with decaf coffee and basically bring down your caffeine level. So if I'm saying this right or clearly, you're reducing your caffeine levels first. It's going to allow you to better control the detox symptoms that you're going to experience from coming off of coffee. Because one thing a person that drinks a lot of coffee can tell you is that if they don't get their morning coffee, their mood is going to be shot. They're going to be cranky. They're going to have an attitude. They're going to be off. Their day is going to be off. And that's a testament to how coffee stimulates the body in many different ways, because when you don't have your coffee, you're feeling the effects of it. You feel jumpy. You don't feel at ease. And those are the stimulating effects and the damaging effects that's happening inside of the body. And when you pull that coffee away and you're feeling these types of symptoms, this should be a warning sign telling you that this is a problem. This is something going on. Your nervous system can't even function without this stimulation that's there. So instead of just trying to pull it out completely from your diet and going cold turkey, reducing your caffeine amount and then working your way off of it will always be the best step, because the last thing you want to do is be going through a whole healing crisis because you're trying to just quit coffee cold turkey. That's never the right way to do things. Some people can, like myself, for some reason, I'm really good at just cold turkey stopping stuff. Some people can, but for the average individual, reducing your consumption first and then weaning it out of your diet is going to be the best way. And by doing this is going to allow for your body to build itself back up and get over that addiction a lot more comfortably. So understand that caffeine is a natural vasoconstrictor. Coffee, sodas, even teas that have caffeine in it, those are all subjected to these same type of issues, because even though the coffee is not necessarily the problem, it's the caffeine in there that causes the vasoconstriction, that causes the damage to the endothelial cells, that raises the blood pressure for no particular reason. So if you're drinking coffee consistently throughout the day, you just have an elevated blood pressure for no reason. And this goes for everybody, whether they have a blood pressure issue or they don't. Now, one of the main things that you can take away from this is that caffeine doesn't cause high blood pressure. It doesn't cause high blood pressure. It just contributes to the problem. So you're not going to get high blood pressure just by drinking coffee. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that it's causing that vasoconstriction, and your blood pressure that's already elevated is going to be more elevated, and you're going to be wondering what's going on. But by simply removing that coffee, you reduce this vasoconstriction and you allow for the blood pressure to start to regulate itself and stay at normal levels without all that extra stimulation and things that's going on there. So I saw a few questions. If you guys have any more, feel free to drop them in, and I'll go ahead and answer those up for you. What about green tea? Green tea is pretty good for you, but be mindful that there are some green teas that have a lot of caffeine in it as well. So be mindful of the green tea and be mindful of what you're sweetening it with. So if you're if you're drinking green tea and you're adding different type of sweeteners, whether it's honey or maple syrup, be very, very mindful of what you're doing, because what happens is when you do this every day, a little bit turns into a lot. And when it turns into a lot, that's when it starts to cause complications. Like, I typically don't have a problem telling people, like, okay, yeah, use this as a sweetener. But what happens is people use it every day. Then they're using it 2 and 3 times per day. And now you have an abundance or rather an overload of sweetener or sugar coming into the system. And this goes against what you're trying to do. So if you're consuming green tea, be mindful of how much you're consuming. Be mindful of the caffeine levels that are there. And the more mindful you are, the better choices that you can make. And if you're buying it prepackaged or in a bottle or from a store or something like that, ask questions. Figure out how much caffeine is. A lot of these things have the packages right in the back. They can just go in the back and ask you. And the main thing is, you want to keep it to a minimum. Now, I'm not saying that you have to have a boring, bland life free of tea and coffee and stuff like that. But what I am saying is, to get to the root cause of this problem and correct it, you should pull all these things out and then allow your body to adjust so you can move forward to better understand how these things contributing. Because I've seen people that just stopped drinking coffee and their blood pressure got better. The problem went away simply by not drinking coffee and all these other caffeinated drinks and things like that. And for a lot of people, that can simply be the problem. So it takes for you to have the willpower to pull these things out and just say, okay, I'm going to go without coffee for 7 days and see what happens. And in 7 days, it's going to give you the enlightenment to better understand the challenges that you're facing. Again, it's all about dotting every I and crossing every T. Say, yep, I did that, and that wasn't a problem for me. But I did this, and boom, that was my answer. The caffeine was it. I pulled the caffeine out, and my gut issues went away, my headaches went away, and I started to sleep a whole lot better. It's a lot of things that happen, but you have to be willing to clear out this pathway from whatever toxic items that we're consuming. And 9 times out of 10, if you see benefits in this area, once you release or eliminated the caffeine or the alcohol, you're probably not going to go back to it because now you started feeling better, and nobody wants to go back to feeling bad after they've done something that helped them feel so much better. So understanding that this part of the process, and the more willing you are to adjust to it, the more answers you're going to get about your blood pressure issues. Just eat the grapes. That's where it's at. That's where the nutrients are. Don't worry about the wine. Just drink the grapes. It's going to give you everything that you need. Is warm lemon or lime water beneficial to high blood pressure and diabetes? I won't say that it's beneficial, but it can be very stimulating in different ways. What I would like to say is that it's going to provide your body with a lot of different nutrients that are going to be beneficial when it comes down to digestion and absorption and things like that. But it's going to be more stimulating than actual have a healing effect of it. It's kind of more like almost like supplementation, but the main thing is there's a lot more things you can do on the natural side than, worrying about just drinking warm water and lime water and things like that. So there's nothing wrong with it, but it's going to give you more stimulation than anything, but it's not going to necessarily be beneficial when it comes down to high blood pressure and diabetes. And particularly when it comes down to diabetes, the biggest thing that we should worry about is more so the foods that we're consuming, because again, this is a lifestyle issue that is largely related to the food that we're consuming. And since I'm on a diabetes topic, I'm gonna go ahead and drop this real quick. So when it comes down to diabetes, a lot of people think about diabetes as being a sugar problem. Like, I got high glucose level, my blood sugars are all jacked up. And yeah, the sugars are a problem with diabetes. But diabetes is not caused by sugar. Sugar isn't the cause of diabetes. So when we understand what's causing the diabetes, this is going to allow us to actually get to the root cause of the problem. So when you look at the cells have what's called insulin sensors on top of them. I wish I had something next to me. The cells, I'll take this. This is a cell. This is my pillow. So this is a cell, right? So the cell has these insulin sensors on top of it, right here. I'm looking for something, but I didn't go right here. Boom. Here we go. This is a cell. And the cell has these insulin sensors on top of it. So what happens is when you consume certain foods, the blood glucose levels begin to rise, and now the insulin levels rise. The insulin comes in, it hits this little sensor right here, boom, it triggers it, and now the glucose can enter into the cell, and the cell can go ahead and properly metabolize it and create the energy that the body needs to function at an optimum level. But what happens is when you consume a food that's high in fats, like fried foods and fatty cuts of meat, a lot of animal-based products, oils, and all these things that impact your cholesterol and your triglyceride levels and all those things, it causes a problem for your insulin sensor. Your insulin sensor basically gets all jammed up. I'm looking for something else, but basically your insulin sensor, it gets all jammed up. So this is the excess lipids that are inside your system. The lipids, the triglycerides, all the cholesterol, and all the fatty, waxy substances that's inside of the blood. When you consume a lot of fatty foods and foods that are high in cholesterol and fat and stuff like that, this insulin sensor, it gets all jammed up. So now when the sensor's jammed up, and you eat something, the blood sugar rises, the insulin is not able to go into the insulin sensor because it's all jammed up with the fatty substances that are there. And now when the insulin can't go inside of the cell, it basically can't open the cell up and allow for the glucose to go inside. And now the glucose stays in the bloodstream, and this causes the blood sugar levels to keep rising. And this is how the diabetes continue to develop. So understanding that sugar, although it is a part of the problem with diabetes, it's not the root cause of the issue. Now, I'm not saying that you can eat all the sugar that you want and, you know, do those things. But what I am saying that the root cause of your problem is directly related to the fatty foods that you're consuming, the foods that are definitely contributing to your cholesterol, the fatty cuts of meat. The oil is one of those big things. All those foods that we're consuming that are really bad for our overall health, these are all parts of the problem. When you eliminate those fatty foods and those foods, processed foods and things like that, it frees up this insulin receptor. And now the glucose, the insulin can start to penetrate the cell, unlock it, and basically allow for the glucose to penetrate and enter and metabolize properly. So understanding that sugar is not necessarily the problem with diabetes. Understanding the diet, making those necessary changes are going to be very important. Now, you're also going to see things like the keto diet. Keto is one of those big things where they eliminate all the carbs and all the excess of sugars, and it's very beneficial for helping with diabetes and helping people correct these the diabetic type issues. But we have to look at it from a long-term health perspective, because you can stop eating the processed foods and the high carb foods and bring your A1C levels down drastically. But it also promotes eating an abundance of animal-based products, fatty foods, and no fruits or no vegetables, and pretty much almost no vegetables and things like that. And in an exchange of just bringing your A1C levels down and losing some weight. And what we see most often is that people that are dealing with diabetes that go on a keto diet, they lose a lot of weight, they bring the A1C levels down, but once they stop this diet, they start to yo-yo back and forth. They lose 100 pounds and gain 100 pounds back. They lose 50 pounds, gain 75 pounds back. They go back and forth mainly because it's not sustainable for long-term health, and the side effects all tend to pop out sooner or later. So with diabetes, the main thing is you don't want to, it's not a thing of trying to manipulate the body. It's more so just getting back in alignment with the right approaches and making sure that your dietary structure your diet is structured in the right way. It's going to be the main starting point, because once you correct the diet and remove those things out of the diet, you're going to see some really big benefits in this area. And I don't want to keep going to the diabetes conversation because that can turn into a whole nother thing. Here we go. Is hibiscus tea okay to drink? Yeah, it's okay to drink, but the main thing is you don't want to rely on it when it comes down to doing anything for your blood pressure or your body. You're going to see some benefits from it, but it shouldn't be a staple in your diet, because again, if you feel like you have to drink this tea for your blood pressure, it means that you're going to ease off on the things that are more beneficial because of that false sense of security that's going to be there. I would use the agave sweetener at times. Is that a sweetener okay? Agave is what I consider to be, it's not as bad as the other sugars and things like that, but it's just a small step down from typical white sugar. I don't use agave. I wouldn't recommend to use it because it's one of those ones that's very high in fructose, and it can cause some issues in the long run. So just being mindful of it, because again, understanding how it's processed and how it's brought together is important. They take the agave plant and they have to extract it and remove it in the same similar fashion as you taking sugar from the sugar cane. And once you start to isolate a substance from its natural source, that's where the biggest problems start to come from. So agave will be something that you want to stay away from. The only sweetener that I would say that you should use would probably be in the maple syrup range, or if you consume honey, that's going to be equally somewhere there. But you shouldn't be using any other type of sweetener, especially during this process of trying to get to the root cause of the problem. And yeah, it's pretty much as simple as that. The better you're able to stay away from those sweeteners, the better results you'll see at the end of the day. What else we got? What else? Oh, Miss Claudine, she understands the process of having diabetes. Thanks for the demonstration. Yeah, my handy dandy pillow came in contact. But I think what I do is I go over a diabetes section with you guys sooner or later, because a lot of people have these comorbidities that come together. And one thing that led me down this pathway was also understanding that at one point I was dealing with my body was in a pre-diabetic state as well, and I was fighting these same type of issues because high blood pressure and diabetes, they run down the same line. Like, usually when you got high blood pressure, sooner or later diabetes typically pops up for a lot of people. Or if you have diabetes, eventually you're going to get high blood pressure because diabetes is the #1 cause of heart disease. So understanding that these are all in the same pathway because they're all lifestyle diseases. And when you're doing something like these changes that we're talking about, this isn't just for high blood pressure because it falls in the same area of changes when it comes down to diabetes as well. All these fall under the same category. Now, when it comes to diabetes and getting better results, there are some things that you want to tweak, but 99% of this stuff is all the same. So understanding that, making lifestyle changes is not just for improving your blood pressure. This is for your overall health, and this is going to allow you to pull out these things that are contributing to this problem and help you work your way through these type of situations. Is monk fruit okay to use this week? Miss Andrea, I would say stay away from the monk fruit just for this week because, again, that's one of those sweeteners that's just I don't even know what a monk fruit is, to be honest, but I understand how it's extracted and brought together, but stay away from it just for safekeeping. I'll just give you that one that way. Am I going to do a demonstration this week? Yes, Miss Baxter, I believe that. Yeah, Miss Baxter, I will do a cooking demonstration. I'm going to schedule it for not tomorrow, but Thursday. We'll do a cooking demonstration this Thursday, and what we will do is we'll go over the no salts, no oils, no sugars. That way you can see the method behind this process. And what I'll do is I will cook a fairly complicated dish. And reason I say fairly complicated is because this will give me the range to talk about all the different substitutions that you can possibly put together to help you get a better idea of what you can do and create in your own home. So I'm not going to just cook something that's really simple and easy to do. I'm going to do something that's going to actually allow me to use each and every strategy. That way I can go over it and talk you guys through it, and you get a better idea of, okay, we're not using oil. So what my options or what are my substitutions? Could I use water? Could I use vegetable broth? How to select the right vegetable broth? How to, all these basic things like that. So yes, Thursday at 7:30 instead of 8:30, we'll do the live cooking class. That way we can get a better understanding of what being in the kitchen and eating this type of way looks like. Because, a lot of times we're like, no salt, no oil, no sugar. Well, what the heck am I going to eat? Or how am I going to do this? And we think that we're just confined to just like, bland, tasteless food. So I'm gonna give you guys a really great demonstration, and that way you guys can have the opportunity to understand how you should move forward with adding more whole foods through your diet and things like that. Take another question, and I think I'm gonna round off what's going on inside of this the ebook right here. As I follow this challenge, I noticed that my intake is less than 1,000 calories per day eating just fruits and salads. Although I am not hungry, this is not sustainable. What should I do to get a higher caloric intake? Mr. Williams, you should still be eating regular food. Just make sure that you're eating the foods that fall within the guidelines of the challenge. So right now we're not doing just fruits and salads. We're doing we're consuming regular foods that fall within the guidelines of the challenge. So you should definitely be consuming more than 1,000 calories per day. It's definitely not sustainable for long term, even though you say you're not that hungry. But yeah, make sure you're eating enough food, because eating enough food is going to still allow for you to be satiated and get the results that you're looking for. Because this is not like a weight loss challenge where we're trying to do a calorie deficit. You should still be eating enough food to sustain yourself throughout the day, but eating the foods that are within the guidelines of what we're talking about. There's no cap limit on how much food you can consume. You can eat as much as your body will allow you to consume, but make sure that you stay within the guidelines and you're consuming whole foods. Because one thing about consuming whole foods, your body is not going to let you overdo it. It's going to be a lot more satiating, and it's going to fill you up. It's just going to hold you and sustain you a lot better. So eating in abundance every day is going to be it should be not in question. So definitely get more food in your system. Make sure you double check the ebook so you understand what the guidelines are. But anything that you consume, just make sure it's within those guidelines. But you should definitely not be in the calorie restriction type of area. Last one before I get back into it. I know you are a chef. How do you choose your seasoning? My food does not taste that good. That is very, very true. Eliminating salt, oils, and sugars eliminates all of the stimulation when it comes down to your foods. One thing I would say, when you do this, you will feel that your food tastes bad. And that should be your number one warning sign of, wow, I'm so used to certain things on my food and being stimulated in a certain way. I don't know what these natural foods actually taste like without these things on it. So now, the first thing that you should be doing, let me slow it down. So the first thing that you should be doing to help your food taste better is one of the first strategies that you can do is season your food gently while you're cooking it and season it after. So this is one strategy. So let's say you're sauteing, I'm just taking some vegetables at the time. Let's say you're sauteing some vegetables, no salt, no oil, nothing else on top of it inside of a saute pan. One thing you could gently do, let's say if you decide to put some oregano or whatever seasoning that you have, some garlic powder, onion powder, whatever it is, and you're just seasoning and saute it. Just add a pinch of it on it at first, saute it, cook it to where it's supposed to be, and once you plate it up with everything else, adding a little bit after on top of it will enhance the flavor there. But for most people that are starting out, this isn't going to be enough stimulation to help them get over the hump. Now, typically your body's going to adjust over the course of a couple days, but to ensure that you guys are able to see this process through, one of my biggest recommendations, and hold that thought right quick. I'm going to go to my kitchen real quick. Stay right there. Don't go nowhere. Don't go nowhere. All right, here I go. I'm back. All right, so here we go. I got two things right here, and this is going to be very, very important. So one of my biggest recommendations is this. I don't want to mess up my thing. This is called coconut aminos, and basically this is it's like a marinade or like a soy sauce type substitute that's very flavorful. And it helps give a stimulating effect when it comes down to just making your food more palatable. One thing about this is that even though it does have a little bit of sea salt inside of it, it's so small and minute that the sodium levels are very, very low. So even by adding a couple dabs of this on top of your food once you finish cooking, it's gonna give you a little stimulation and help you get it down while also drastically reducing your sodium levels and allowing for your taste buds and your palate to continue to change and adjust to what you're doing. So coconut aminos is going to be one thing that you can use. The main thing is you don't want to cook with this, because when you cook with this, it's going to cook off and basically go into the atmosphere, and you're going to find yourself adding more to the to your dish. And what happens is, even though it cooked off and the flavor is not there, the sodium is still there, and that's going to increase your sodium level. So you don't want to be dependent on this. You just want to help your body transition. So the coconut aminos is going to be one thing that you can use. And I'm going to go to the back of it, and 1 tablespoon is going to be 270 milligrams of sodium, whereas a teaspoon of salt is 2,700 milligrams of sodium. So a teaspoon versus a tablespoon, you can see the drastic difference. And all you need is 2 to 3 shakes on top of it, and it will enhance the flavor of whatever you're putting on top of it, make it a lot more stimulating and palatable. And as you go to this no sodium transition or this no salt transition, this will be your bridge. Now again, this is a bridge for you. This is not something that you just want to use as an alternative and just use this all the time, because again, it still has a level of sea salt inside of it. It still has some excessive amount of sodium, and it can be easily over consumed, causing still contributing to the excess amount of sodium issue that you're dealing with. But the coconut aminos is going to be one of the best bridges that you found. I think my mom picked this up, but through her whole transition, she hasn't even had to use it. And I know I have some inside there that I probably cracked open once, but I don't even use it too much anymore as well. But for people starting out, this is going to be very, very beneficial. Now, next up, if you can't find the coconut aminos, the next best option is probably be the liquid aminos. But with the liquid aminos, you have to be very, very careful with it. And the reason I say be careful with it is two reasons. This has almost twice as much sodium as the coconut aminos. And what happens is you can easily get carried away with the liquid aminos, and before you know it, you'll have just as much sodium as if you were consuming regular salt, and that's what you want to stay away from. Now, although the liquid aminos doesn't have any salt inside of it, it has a lot of sodium from the plant proteins and everything else that it consists of. So these are the two options. I know that coconut aminos might not be found in every store, but you can find liquid aminos in the majority of places. This would definitely be your go-to option. The second option here, be more mindful of how you use it, because again, this is something that still has a lot of sodium in it. The Bragg's family, they've been pretty solid with the things that they've been doing, but on our journey to correcting our blood pressure issue, we need to be very mindful about this. If you can avoid the liquid aminos, try to do so as much as you can. The coconut amino is going to be a lot bit better, but at the end of the day, both of these are still only crutches. These are only bridges to help you get to where you need to be. Once your taste buds start to slow and dumb down after 7 to 14 days and things like that, just continue to use less and less and less. And this is going to help your body continue to transition, because again, 2,700 milligrams of sodium versus, 270 milligrams of sodium in the coconut aminos versus 2,700 milligrams of sodium in salt. That's a night and day difference, especially when they're giving you the same type of stimulating effects. And you want to go with the coconut aminos as best as you can. So hopefully I answered that question for you guys, Miss Peterson. That way you can kind of make the dietary transition a little bit more easier for you and go from there. Will you show us what herbs to blend to season different foods? Yes, Miss Walter. In Thursday's cooking class, I will show you some different spice blends that I keep inside my cabinet that I make myself from all of the other spices that I have there. Basically, what I do is, let's say if I'm making tacos, or if I'm making a soup, or if I just need a basic house blend, I keep these things already blended up inside of my cabinet. That way, whenever I'm cooking anything, I just grab whatever I need. It's just like, it's like my own personal spice blends, and I'll show you guys how you can put these together with your basic spices and how to just allow these flavors to just come out on the foods that you're cooking. So Thursday's cooking class will highlight a lot of these different tactics and strategies. That way you can absorb this process and allow for your food to be a lot more palatable through this type of process. What about the Bragg aminos? I just went over that one. Hopefully I cleared up your question, Miss or Mr. Ellis. Sorry about that. What else we got? I think Miss Walters, can it be found in Publix? Yeah, it definitely can be found inside of Publix. So that's one of the main places where I get it from, and hopefully those things help you guys get over this this hump when it comes down to making sure that your food is palatable and still tastes good as you go through this process. So as we wrap things up, because I don't want to drag you guys all along, and so as we wrap things up, understanding that caffeine and alcohol are definitely part of the process, a part of the foods that we want to eliminate from our diet. And this is just going to help us continue on this journey of correcting the blood pressure issues. One thing about it is this: the more consistent you are with doing these things, the bigger the results that you're going to see through this process. I know that it's not always easy to stick with all these different things, but if you're not able to, don't beat yourself up about the process. Just find something that you can do and wean it out. And once you get that out your system, Now switch to the next thing that you can do and wean it out and work your way through the process as best as you can. Again, this is not an easy challenge to go about, but for those of us that are determined to get off the pharmaceutical medications, the better you're able to do and accomplish these things for the next 7 days, the bigger the options are that you're going to have moving forward when it comes down to getting off the pharmaceutical medications. Because again, these are lifestyle changes that are going to help you in the long run by not just improving your overall health, but just basically helping you reach the finish line. So with that being said, I don't think I see any more questions there from anybody. And yeah, I think that's it. So I appreciate each and every one of you guys from tuning in. Last thing, all the books have already been sent out. We should start getting some more email updates in the next day or so, giving you all the information you need to track and all that fun stuff. If you haven't got your high blood pressure breakdown book yet, the link is inside of the group. Get yourself a book. That way you can get a hold of all the tactics, strategies, foods, all that good stuff that you need to understand and learn in order to get to the root cause of your high blood pressure issue. Tomorrow I will not be in the group, but Thursday we'll be live in the kitchen and we'll be going through some cooking demonstrations to help you guys better understand how to maneuver through these challenges. So with that being said, peace and blessings everybody, and I'll see you guys Thursday.